Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be talking about an Alberta Clipper system that eventually be turning into a major storm system as it gets out to parts of the south, eventually getting into parts of the eastern U.S. It's going to bring in multiple threats like quite a bit of snow, an ice storm, high winds, even for some coastal flooding as well. We'll be going in a little bit more detailed with the storm system as well. Plus, I do have a map of this as well in a little bit more detail so that you guys can get a better understanding of what can happen with this system. Before we get started with this video though, if you guys do like weather related content, you can always subscribe to my channel. We'll definitely be having more updates on this storm here. So if you guys want to stay alert on this channel here, you can always hit the subscribe button and you can hit that bell notification and you'll get notified that I've uploaded a video. Like it did again, we'll be having more updates on the storm as well. So, since we got that out of the way, let's get started with the watch warning map display. And we have winter storm warnings for parts of eastern North Dakota to northeastern South Dakota, southwestern Minnesota, through central Wisconsin, and eventually they may get down to parts of far western Illinois and northeastern Missouri as well, where we do have a couple of winter storm watches in effect. And in these purple shades here, these are winter weather advisories here. It's not, you won't see as much snow than the people in the winter storm warning, but you can still get some snowfall accumulations out of it as well. We got a winter storm watch for parts of north central Arkansas that could get expanded a little further to the northeast with time. We also got another winter storm watch in effect for parts of northeastern Georgia, upstate South Carolina, and southwestern North Carolina as well. Some of it will be dealing with part of it will be an ice storm and a lot of sleet. The other part will be a lot of snowfall as well. Don't be surprised that over time here you'll get these winter storm watches that begin to kind of spread a little further northward as well. We're going to see a very large area of winter storm watches as time goes by as well. We'll probably see more winter storm watches get issued maybe later tonight or maybe tomorrow as well. So keep in mind that. We're going to start a little bit earlier on. We're going to first check out what's going to be going on in the Midwest. And to do that, we'll be checking out the HRRR model. You can see here, you're going to have these multiple bands of at times moderate to maybe at times heavy snowfall. And this will be going over some of the same areas here. So really from eastern North Dakota to eastern South Dakota, southwestern Minnesota, and eventually it goes down into Iowa. You can see here, then again, over the next several hours, you just get these multiple bands of moderate to maybe at times heavy snow. And then what's going to happen here a little further south here, two pieces of energy will be joining forces at that point as well in the southern plains as well. Then at that point, that's where we're going to start to see a little bit of a stronger system as well. And for some areas, it's going to start as rain, but eventually most of you guys should start to change over to snow as well. And it could be heavy at times as well. Here's the Harvest Canadian's perspective on this, and it's pretty darn similar to the HRRR model. You know, you have this band here, little area here that can get multiple rounds of some snow for a longer period of time than some other areas, and that's where we can see some higher snowfall totals in those areas as well. Snowfall accumulation wise, so this is then again from the high-res NAM, not NAM, high-res Canadian, and it has done pretty well in the past. We'll definitely use this again, and you can see here you got the swath here of anywhere from maybe as high as 7 to maybe getting close to 10 inches of snow some places. Then again, I think 10 inches of snow would be pretty isolated, but it'll still be a pretty good winter storm either way. But really in areas of the purple here, at least 6 inches of snow, yeah, that's a lot of snow when you think about it. But they do decrease over time as you get a little further south as well. Parts of northern Missouri might able to have that opportunity to see winter storm-like conditions as well. If you check out the HRRR model, it's actually pretty darn similar with it. It's actually got isolated higher amounts, more focused in the parts of southwestern Minnesota and northeastern South Dakota as well. But it does have some areas getting over a foot of snow. And I think that's a pretty low end chance with that as well. But this is the National Weather Service forecast here. This is for a national view. We'll get to a closer view in a little bit, but kind of want to look at the national view first. Really, the purple colors is where we can see at least 6 inches of snow, and those darker shades of purple is where we can see maybe at least 8 inches of snow. Let's have a little closer look to that. We'll start off with the north central U.S. They actually do have some areas getting at least 10 inches of snow. They got one area of 11 inches. So then again, isolated areas may see maybe a little over 10 inches of snow. Somebody here probably will get to that much, but not everybody will. I can see pretty much a widespread swath of 6 to 9 inches of snow with isolated 9 to maybe 12 inches of snow as well. I think that'd be the higher end. But generally, I think it's going to be a large swath of 6 to 9 inches of snow. And we'll move a little further to the south here. You can see here some of those higher totals do get into northeastern Missouri, into far western Illinois, where we do have some of those winter storm watches in effect as well. And you still got pretty decent totals when you get down to southern Missouri as well, up to 5 inches of snow in some places as well. And that gets subject to change as well. We still don't have the weather balloons data into these models just yet. And I believe we've already had weather balloons into the storm system already earlier today. So I think by the 0Z runs and by the 06Z run, we should get a better idea with the system here as well. And we should get closer to an agreement as well, especially what's going to be happening after this as well. And something I almost forgot to show here, just popped up in my head. I knew I was forgetting something. Is the probability map. So this is for day one. We'll go kind of do this a little bit over time here. And you can see here, areas in that red shade, good chance there's going to be at least an inch of snow. How about probability of at least 4 inches of snow? Then again, red and orange areas got a pretty good probability. That's at least an 80% chance of seeing that. 6 inches of snow. I think this, you got that little tiny area of orange, 80 to 90% chance. But even the blue areas, you guys still got a pretty good probability, especially in the brighter blue. And that's about at least a 70% chance. 8 inches of snow, looks like they got the better probability, maybe somewhere along the Minnesota and South Dakota border in there. And just a little south of the North Dakota border as well, almost at triple point. Probabilities for at least a foot of snow, very slim to none. 1 to 5% chance. And chances that it's very slim. Then again, I think we can contain that. I think we're going to keep that under a foot of snow. I don't think we'll see anybody have at least 12 inches of snow, but they are giving that very, very low end chance there. So let's just keep in mind of that. And we can actually kind of go over time as well. They do increase those probabilities when you get to southern Minnesota, but it doesn't get too high though. 10 to 20% chance, that's a low end chance. Let's kind of back off a little bit. How about probabilities for at least 8 inches of snow? Pretty good probabilities when you get into central Iowa as well. Back it off a little bit. How about chances of at least 6 inches of snow? Well, pretty good probabilities there from southern Minnesota to central Iowa. And over time, some of these probabilities would decrease. They still got pretty good probabilities. Maybe getting as far south as northeastern Missouri. And you can see how these percentages dramatically drop. How about probabilities for at least 4 inches of snow? There's some decent probabilities out there, but still not very high. And this is kind of getting into the overnight hours, into the early morning hours on Sunday. You do notice here, as you look a little further east, hey, chances are increasing in the higher elevations in southwestern North Carolina. So this is where that system really begins to take some shape. And then again, that's the probability for at least 4 inches of snow. They kind of expanded to parts of Kentucky and Tennessee at that point. Then on day 3, which is kind of the max end of the run here, pretty high probabilities in the higher elevations of western North Carolina and southwestern Virginia as well. Backing off a little bit for at least 2 inches, pretty good probabilities out there. But how about at least 8 inches of snow? So they got pretty good probabilities in the higher elevations of North Carolina. At least 12 inches? Hey, decent chance out there, 30 to 40% chance. And then again, that's kind of the max end of the run of that as well. But let's talk about in that time frame in a little bit more detail. So let's check out the NAM. And the NAM's been waffling around. That's something you kind of expect in this type of range. models will kind of waffle around a little bit, maybe a little north, maybe a little south. And it's been like that for pretty much most of the day. If you pay attention to the models all day, you'll definitely notice that they have been waffling around a lot. So here's the NAM model. Earlier on, maybe in the parts of Indiana, Illinois, maybe in the parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, we could see light rain and snow showers early on. And this is going to be more focused maybe in the morning hours on Saturday, maybe getting deeper to the day on Saturday, but that might be more focused a little further west here, maybe in the parts of western Kentucky, southwestern Indiana, and it could get as far east as central Tennessee. But you do see the precipitation shield begin to increase later today on Saturday here, and this is where things do get very interesting. And this is where you kind of call phasing here. So you got a surface low that'll try to develop a little further south, but you got another low just to the north here. This low that's a little further to the north, that will continue to move to the northeast. However, this one here will continue to track a little bit more of a southern track here. And what this one here is going to do, it's going to transfer the energy to this one here, or in other words, phasing. They're going to phase with each other, and eventually the southern low is going to take over the event. You'll see here as we kind of get towards the end of the run, and you can see it gets pretty darn nasty. Now, I think further north here, I think most of this is going to be a way of snow. I know it shows a mix of sleet and freezing rain, but I think that's going to be mostly snow. If there's going to be an area that have a mix of that, we're probably in this red circle a little further to the southeast here. Eastern Tennessee, southeastern Kentucky. That may get as far northeast as parts of southern West Virginia as well. But I don't think areas up here at central, parts of central southern Kentucky will see a mixing out of this. I don't think so. I think that may be a glitch with the run there. It does continue a little further up north, which honestly I have some doubts with. But either way, there's going to be what's known as a warm nose coming in. There'll be an area some slightly milder air. It might just be warm enough to change over maybe periodically some rain, maybe some sleet and freezing rain to be mixed in. I think the better opportunity will probably be in this region right in there in that red circle there. This is the back's end of run, but it does have a strong low moving into Northern Virginia at that point as well, which is getting into the overnight hours on Sunday. Meanwhile, along the coastline, you got strong winds coming from the southwest. That's going to be pushing some of those waters there of the Atlantic onto the coast. So not only will you see high winds, but you also will see coastal flooding as well. That's going to be another threat as well. And we can see strong winds, the possibility for some strong winds down to parts of the Carolinas as well. So it'll certainly be windy for areas anywhere from parts of the Carolinas up into parts of New England states as well during that time frame as well. So it'll be a little bit windy for some of those areas. Let's check out the highest Canadian. You'll see here, oh yeah, by the way, there's going to be a big low off in the Atlantic here. Fortunately, it won't bring much of any way of snow in the New England states, but it'll be a big time snowmaker in the parts of Nova Scotia in Newfoundland, Canada, up there in the eastern parts of Canada as well. They're going to see a big snowstorm out there. It also could be a bomb cyclone as well. It'll be rapidly deepening as it moves to the northeast as well. So I kind of want to mention that real quick. All right, so kind of get back to the system here. Definitely has some similarities to the NAM, maybe a little further south with it. But you know what I'm talking about here, maybe a little bit of a warm nose. And I think these models are definitely have trouble here with the mixing situation right in here. It looks like a mess here. But what also looks even worse is what's happening down here. Parts of North Carolina, South Carolina, and northeastern Georgia. Could potentially see a big ice storm for some of those areas. Now, there is some good news for parts of South Carolina. Even though it shows heavy freezing rain, some of that may not actually accumulate maybe on the rooftops or on trees or power lines because the rainfall rates will be so high it won't have time to freeze. So if you kind of put it to that perspective. So you probably would rather have heavy freezing rain than light to moderate. But I feel like some of you guys would rather have the sleet here. If I were you guys, I would rather have sleet than freezing rain. Sleet, it might be a little bit difficult to plow with and clear, but let me tell you guys, freezing rain is much worse than sleet. And I've been through ice storms in my lifetime. So, yeah. And it's also taking this similar track to the Nam here, maybe slightly slower here. You had the Nam that's a little bit faster, a little further to the north. It's also got a similar uh, pressure there as well. Meanwhile, on the back side, I mean, check out the northern end and the western end. Rounds to some moderate to at times heavy snow. So it's going to be a big snowstorm for a lot of folks out there as well. You can have snowstorm-like conditions, maybe as far southwest as parts of western Tennessee, maybe to northern Mississippi. That could go through parts of the Ohio Valley up into the northeast. So then again, it's going to be affecting a lot of people. And that snow shield is very large as well. You got a lot of moisture getting pumped in here as well. And also kind of want to backtrack a little bit here and focus a little bit more on this ice storm here. You notice here that there's isobars that are like this here. That's what we call a cold air damming effect, or CAD. People that live in the parts of Virginia and the Carolinas, maybe in the parts of Georgia, will probably know this term. Some other people may not. And what happens here is that you get some cold air. It's mainly at the surface. It gets cold air pulled from the north. It's mainly at the surface. However, in the higher elevations, temperatures stay on the milder side. So that's why we're seeing some of these mixed precipitation modes like freezing rain and sleets, because you got cold air getting pulled in generally at the surface, but a little bit higher up, it's actually above freezing. So it's just generally rain up there. Meanwhile, at the surface, you got temperatures are below freezing. So that's what's kind of going on there. And that's why we're going to have that freezing rain and sleet mixture there as well. But eventually, when it gets up to the mid-Atlantic, the cold air damming effect should stop at that point as well. Here's the GFS model here. You'll see here it's that storm system makes its way through parts of the northern plains and the Midwest. And then again, you're going to have two different lows. This is Saturday night. You got a low in northwestern Alabama. You got surface low in southwestern Georgia. And then again, these two will be phasing each other as well. It'll be interesting to see how these two systems will phase each other. And currently, again, right now, it's looking to be taking a southern route for right now. We used to have two different scenarios, either going this way, which may be possible, or this way. It looks like we're kind of taking a little bit more on this track here, at least for now. It could still change. Keep in mind that. I know we're 2 to 3 days out with this system here. Usually around this time, we may issue a snowfall forecast. Right now, there's still too much uncertainty to issue a snowfall forecast on this for right now. It's still a little too early for that. If you guys have paid attention on Twitter lately, the Weather Chat posted a snowfall forecast map, which is honestly way too early, too much uncertainty on it, and a National Weather Service office in Pennsylvania called out on them and they deleted the tweet. So then again, it's too early for a snowfall map. It really is for these areas down here. Now for areas up here, it's not too early. It'll be beginning tomorrow for those areas up here, up there. But for areas a little further south where we got so much uncertainty, right now it's can't quite issue a snowfall map just yet. Maybe we'll issue one tomorrow. We'll see. But anyway, that low will continue to move to the north here. And for some places in here, especially north of the low here, you may get to see a period of moderate to heavy snow at first. But unfortunately, if you live along and east of the Interstate 95 corridor, you'll transition over to rain. So unfortunately, not all that snow is it's not going to stay there. Whenever it rains, unfortunately, some of it will melt away. So that kind of sucks. It kind of sucks for some people. I know for some snow lovers along and east of the Interstate 95 corridor, we really want some snow. But unfortunately, well, you will see some snow, maybe exception for along the coastline. But if you're a little bit inland, you will see snow at first, but unfortunately, it will transition over to rain as well. Unfortunately, it may melt some of that snow away. And I could go up into parts of Maine as well. In Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, you guys may have a chance to periodically change over to rain as well, which kind of sucks. I know it does. But unfortunately, we can't really control the system here. Wish we could, but we cannot, unfortunately. But anyway, for if you are going to be on the west side of the low, more than likely it's going to be mostly snow here. So really parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, it'll mostly be snow, even up to the parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, maybe in the parts of northern Maine as well. It'll also stays mostly snow up there as well. If you're going to stay pretty much on the west side of the low, good chance it's going to stay as snow. That's probably a better way to put it. All right, let's check out the European model, and it's going to show something a little bit similar to it. It's a little further northwest, I kind of say here, slightly to the northwest, but in this range here, don't pay too much attention for a 10 to 15 mile shift to the low. It's not a big shift, so don't pay too much attention to that. I want to kind of put that out there. But then again, it's very similar to the GFS. I think we're finally starting to get to a better agreement here. But what I'm most interested with is whenever that weather balloon data gets to these models here later tonight. Could it shift further to northwest? Maybe. Could it shift further to the southeast? Maybe. Could it stay the same track? That's also a possibility as well, which we may get some questions of wherever we get this weather balloon data in, will it change the track or the low? We do not know. But it is a good question though, so that's why I'm very interested to see some of the 0Z run model guidance and the 6Z run guidance later tonight. So hopefully with that weather balloon data getting in here, hopefully we could get a better agreement on the system here, and maybe we'll have a better idea with it as well. Here's a Canadian model, and you'll notice here it's also pretty darn similar with it as well. And from what I've been told that the Canadian model typically does a little bit better with the mixture in the parts of the Carolinas with the cold air damming effect, which will probably zoom in right in that area. Go to the Mid-Atlantic, we'll zoom in to that area. So then again, really in the red colors here is where we're going to see some freezing rain. So right in here is where we can see some freezing rain. You better hope that most of this will be sleet. And sleet, we can see a lot of sleet out of this. Possibly at least 2 inches of sleet out of this event. And that's a lot of sleet when you think about it. Sleet is like little pebbles or very small hail, if you kind of think about it that way. Smaller than pea size, to kind of put it to that perspective. But that's going to be a lot of sleet. I mean, at least 2 inches of sleet is a lot when you think about it. But you better, hopefully, we'll just see mostly sleet than freezing rain. But unfortunately, I don't think that would happen. I think some places will see some freezing rain out of this. And you can see here with that low track, kind of goes through southern Alabama, southern Georgia, central South Carolina, central North Carolina, and that kind of goes through central Virginia as well. And may try to move a little further northeast a little bit later down the road, but we'll see what happens there. At the same time, though, there is going to be another piece of energy coming in as well, which we'll check that out. So we're going back to European model. There's several things I wanted to mention here. This is one of the reasons why this is going to be so tough to forecast. And one of the key things to look into is the energy. And we're going to stop right here on Friday. So there's a couple things here. Number one, you got this big piece of energy here. And if that trends slower, if this piece of energy goes a little bit slower, these pieces of energy will go slower. Think about it as is like a roadway. This is almost like a traffic jam up in the atmosphere when it comes to energy. If this slows down, these will slow down. If this slows down, this may slow down this one, and it can also slow down these ones back here. So that's one of those factors there you need to take into consideration of. If the models are going to mess this up, that could change the forecast of these two pieces of energy up here. Which this is your main wave right here, but there's another piece of energy moving through Utah at the same time. Let's go a little further down the road. And here's the next part. You got another piece of energy up here. If this trends a little faster here, this system here will trend a little bit faster as well. Or in other words, if you put it the other way around, if this goes a little bit slower, this can go maybe slightly slower as well. If this system does trend a little bit slower, it could get a little bit more amplified a little bit earlier on. Plus, it could go a little bit on a northern track as well. If it trends a little bit faster, which it has been a little bit, it could check into a little bit more of a southern track as well. That's why this system is going to be so tough to forecast. Even the phasing part can be really tough as well. When you got two lows trying to phase with each other or trying to join forces with it as well. That's also going to be another difficult part to forecast as well, is how these two systems will phase together to combine into one bigger storm system. That's another thing as well. And like I said here a little bit earlier on with another piece of energy, here's your other piece of energy right here. Here's your main storm right here. This piece of energy right here will probably bring us a little bit around some lighter snow as well. You can see here, it does try to get closer to the system here, but it's not very successful with it as well. So pretty much what I have to show you guys here is some of the reasons why that the system's going to be tough to forecast. Now, you guys may be asking, what's the difference with the last winter storm? Well, with the last winter storm, which went from parts of Kentucky and Tennessee up into the mid-Atlantic states, there was not much of any other piece of energy that could affect the system. Maybe only one piece of energy, and that's really about it. This one here, you got like 2, 3, or 4 different pieces of energy that could affect the system here. You got one right here, one here, and there's going to be another one a little further north as well. What's also very interesting here, there's another piece of energy down here as well, which I don't think it will affect it too much, but it could also act as a little bit of subtropical jet with the system as well. So then again, there's a lot of factors into the system as well. And one little change from one of these pieces of energy here can change up the forecast with this one. That's why it's going to be so tough to forecast this system as well. Now with weather balloon data coming in, models will have a little better idea with the system as well. And that also means we'll probably have a better idea on the system as well. At least hopefully anyway. Over the last couple of days, it's been really tough to forecast this system here as well. It really has been. Alright, so that's that out of the way. Let's check out we'll check out the mean snowfall accumulation from the GFS Almost. Now, don't take this as a snowfall forecast. Number one, I just want to let you guys look as probabilities, okay? Where we have the highest confidence of a winter storm. If we got higher confidence of a winter storm of areas in the purple. You know what? Higher the snowfall totals, higher the confidence of a winter storm it would be. Which in this case here, it's got 15 inches. That's very high confidence. That means there's a very high likelihood there's going to be a snowstorm. Even the purple areas can also mean that in the same way as well. But if you're in the dark blue, you kind of have like a medium chance to see a winter storm out of this. But if you're in the light blue colors, the chances do decrease. Or if you're in the gray area or in the white area, chances are slim to none. That's kind of how I want you guys to look at this map here. Don't pay too much attention to the snowfall accumulations. Then again, this is not a snowfall forecast. I just want to kind of give you guys a perspective here. You can kind of look at this as a probability map of where we are currently with this. I want to kind of check out the mean SLP and precipitation here. And you can see here, over time here, it seems like it's been trending a little bit west with this low here. That can also change the forecast with it as well. And that mean there, it's a pretty good mean, 989 millibars. That's a pretty good mean for that storm as well. You can also tell early on here where you kind of have two different lows. You got one here and one right here, a little bit early on here. 1,000 millibars there, 999 millibars here. So that's something interesting there. And eventually, then again, those two will face together. And then you just get one big storm. And the summer low will take over at that point as well. But from the trends I've noticed here, it looks like it's been trending a little bit west with it as well. This is the ice accumulation forecast from the National Reserve offices, and currently the ice accumulation, I think it's pretty good, but some of these ice accumulations could rise if whenever confidence does increase. Really, in the yellow colors, like you have one in the parts of northern South Carolina and south central North Carolina. In the yellow colors, and again, that's where we can see at least a quarter of an inch of ice. In other words, an ice storm. What's considered an ice storm is at least a quarter of an inch of ice. In the lighter blue areas, we can still see impacts for the system here as well, especially with untreated surfaces as well. But some of the bigger impacts will likely be where we have ice accumulations that could exceed a quarter of an inch as well. We could also see the possibility of power outages as well. And don't be too surprised if some of these amounts do go a little bit higher over time as well, as confidence does increase with this as well. Okay, so we finally made it to our map here, and there are 7 different zones here. We'll go by zone here, but this is the description right here if you guys want to read it here. Or I could go right here. This is a cluster view here. You guys could pause the video and read this here if you guys want to. But I'll still read this with you guys as well and kind of give you guys in a little bit more detail with it as well. All right, let's go back to the map here. So we'll start over with Zone 1. So southern Alabama, southern Georgia, southern in eastern South Carolina, eastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, southern Maryland, Delaware, eastern New Jersey, Long Island, southern Connecticut, Rhode Island, and southeastern Massachusetts. This is areas we're going to see. It's going to be mainly rain. Coastal flooding and high winds are going to be a possibility along the coastline from, let me see here, let me get a different color here. That's not a good color. Let's get dark blue. So we can see coastal flooding from parts of eastern North Carolina all the way up into Rhode Island. And this could also even continue up into Maine as well. So if anybody that's watching from the coastline of Maine and Massachusetts, you guys could also see some coastal flooding issues and high wind issues from the system as well. So that's region 1. Region 2, this is the areas in the red. Central Georgia, Central Carolinas, and Southern Virginia. This is where we're going to see freezing rain and a sleet mix. Areas a little further east will see more way of freezing rain. Areas on the western side will see more of sleet. And like I was mentioning here, a little bit more on the eastern side and the central side, this is where we could experience ice storm-like conditions. It'll be for some areas. Not everybody will experience an ice storm, but some areas will experience that. So just to keep in mind that. And then Zone 3, northeastern Georgia, western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, parts of western Virginia, up into the higher elevations of Maryland. Heavy snow is likely. Some areas in this zone could see over a foot of snow. That's the only number I'm going to put on here, just to let you guys know. The reason why I put a number on here is because it's a pretty high confidence forecast for these areas here. It is certainly going to be plowable snow as well. I mean, at least a foot of snow in reality. That's quite a bit of snow when you think about it there as well. Zone 4, northern Alabama, northwestern Georgia, central and eastern Tennessee, southeastern Kentucky, and southwestern Virginia. It will begin as rain. For some areas, especially in the parts of Kentucky to Virginia, it might stay a little bit more in the way of sleet or maybe a little bit of freezing rain could get mixed in. But eventually, it would end as snow. And it could be heavy at times, especially in the parts of Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee. I think in the parts of Alabama, Georgia, I think it's mostly going to be lighter stuff. I think it'd be generally be snow shower-like activity in the parts of Alabama and Georgia as well. But the heavier stuff, I think it's going to be more focused on the parts of northeastern Tennessee, southeastern Kentucky, and southwestern Virginia as well. All right, Zone 5 from central Kentucky or the parts of the eastern half of Kentucky, eastern Ohio, most of West Virginia, western half of Pennsylvania, most of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Mostly snow in these areas. A band of very heavy snow could develop somewhere on the northwest side of the low pressure system, and that could lead to some isolated higher snowfall totals. And I'm saying that could lead. And some also been hinting on that potential for a while now as well. And currently, the area I'm focused on here, if you have a low track, something like this, your heavier snow band might be somewhere in this area right in here, in that red circle. It's where we can see that heavy snow band setup, especially areas a little further northeast where it could be in that band for a longer period of time than areas a little further southwest as well. So we do need to pay attention to that as well. All right, Zone 6, lighter snow bands, at least for now. There is high uncertainty in this area, but the potential for a winter storm is still there. And the Zone 6 area includes central Ohio, southern Indiana, parts of northern and western Kentucky, into western Tennessee. And then again, the potential winter storm is still there, but there's just not a whole lot of confidence in this region for now. So that's something I wanted to keep in mind of, because especially with the weather balloon data, there's a chance this may shift further to northwest, and it could include areas in the level 6 area. And I'm saying it could do it. It might be away from your favor. It could trend southeast, or it may be the same way. We'll have to see what happens later tonight with some of the model guidance on that. All right, last zone will be 7. This will be for anywhere from Central Virginia, Central Maryland, Eastern Pennsylvania, Northern New Jersey, Southern New York, most of Massachusetts and Connecticut, and far northwestern Rhode Island. Starting as moderate to heavy snow, and unfortunately where the low tracks could be going, which would be something like this, it will eventually change over to plain old rain. And you may have a slight period of sleet and freeze rain, that's a possibility, but eventually a lot of these areas here will change over to rain as well. Unfortunately, that will melt some of the snow away. It may not melt all of it, but some of it may melt away as well. But hey, either way, you guys will still experience some snow out of this as well. It's still unclear of how much snow will happen in these areas in here. Right now, it's still too early. I know I gave a little number for Zone 3. The reason why I did that again is because there's just higher confidence in here than anywhere else on this map for right now. But this is my current thought. Expect this to change. Keep in mind that we're still a couple of days away from the event. Number one. Number two, we don't have the weather balloon data in these models just yet. So then again, this map could change over the next day or two as well. So definitely stay tuned for that as well. But anyways, guys, that's all we got today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit the like button. If you really do like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put the comment section down below. Or answer you guys questions. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.